Hey all, Glenn Kirschner here. Please enjoy this video on the Political Voices Network.
It's a good day, right, on the justice front?
It is a good day. And boy, I forgot all of that Fox blather
Yep.
about, oh, this wasn't an insurrection, no sedition. Well, now you've got the two most dangerous, hateful groups, the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys, convicted of seditious conspiracy and a whole bunch of other charges. And we have a lot to talk about, about the consequences of these convictions.
Well, yeah, you tweeted the guilty verdicts in the Proud Boys cases are enormously consequential, a victory for the American people and for democracy. Now it's time to take on the hierarchy of the insurrection, the command structure, those who encouraged, inspired, and incited the Capitol attack. And you said the only thing standing between Trump and a federal conviction is a federal indictment. Come on, Jack, let's roll, because justice matters. Mm-hmm. I mean, the most significant thing legally, Glenn, I think, is that Enrico Tarrio was convicted and he was not there, obviously. Talk to us about that.
I love that. So, Steph, there's legal precedent. Legal precedent is when an appellate court decides an issue, and it becomes precedent that other courts have to follow. There is factual precedent. What is that? When a president of the United States has been criminally convicted for the first time. That's factual precedent. Then there is a combination of the two. I call it atmospheric precedent. I may have made that up, but I'm running with it.
Yeah,
exactly. So you think about this. Enrique Tarrio was just convicted of a whole bunch of crimes that were committed at the Capitol on January 6th. He was nowhere near the Capitol. He was outside the District of Columbia. Mm-hmm. So now we know that there is atmospheric precedent to go after people for the insurrection who weren't even there. You know who else wasn't there, Steph? Steve Bannon, Roger Stone, Mike Flynn, Rudy Giuliani, Mark Meadows, John Eastman, Donald Trump. So you know what, Merrick Garland, let's give DOJ its props. I was glad to see him step out and congratulate his prosecutors and tell the American people we're a little bit safer today, courtesy of these convictions. Now, you've done the boots of the insurrection. Do the suits, do the hierarchy, do the command structure, do the ruling class criminals, because I maintain I don't want to be down today. I want to celebrate this conviction.
Yes. Yeah.
But every single minute of every day, Steph, there's an injustice at work when the people that Donald Trump ordered to attack the Capitol are in prison and Donald Trump is playing golf. That's not right.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you also had tweeted legal recap. April started with Trump's arraignment on 34 criminal charges, crimes he committed to steal the 2016 presidential election, ended with his sexual assault and defamation trial in progress. Might justice be trending? I mean, it sure does feel like that. I was reading your co-counsel Barb McQuaid's tweet that she's also, I think, hopeful that this has been long and slow, but that Merrick Garland has built this brick by brick. So, I mean, what's next in terms of, I don't know, like I was saying, this does seem like this is the end of investigation, not the beginning, when you've built up this far and proved seditious conspiracy. That didn't get ordered from nowhere. They didn't make it up themselves, right? So what would you think would be a time frame?
Think about where we are, right? We've got Fani Willis writing a letter, and she didn't write that letter for law enforcement's benefit. She could have had behind closed doors meeting to say, by the way, I'm indicting everybody in July. She did that because she wanted to pressure the 20 targets of her investigation to come on in. You got one last chance. You got to flip. You got to cooperate, or you're going to see your name as a marquee defendant on the other side of the V, as we say, Georgia v. Donald Trump. So we're getting real close there. We just had reporting that in the Mar-a-Lago documents case, there's a mole. There's an inside person ratting out Trump. That's huge. We've got progress on the insurrection case. We have Donald Trump, I believe, about to be found liable in New York in his sexual assault and defamation trial. I mean, it's coming. It's happening. It's all coming together. It has taken an eternity, but I think we're pretty darn close now.
And by the way, so we reported this yesterday that he opens his big yap over in Scotland. I'm coming back to confront E. Jean Carroll. And then, so now the judge has said, oh, okay, so you have till Monday if you want to reopen the case and testify. I mean, but it sounds like from, what Taco Pina said, he's not going to do that. He's already said he's not going to testify. What do you make of that? Just more of him trying to talk tough? I don't know.
Yeah, Donald Trump is a punk ass B, is what he is. And there is no way he has the spine to get on a witness stand in a public trial and try to defend his
Is it the hummingbird?
that he's
There it
going
is.
to be.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Glenn.
Sorry.
Yeah, he is at his core scared to death that he is going to be exposed for the person he is. He will never be placed under oath and testify in a public forum. Never.
And thank you, by the way, for your tweet. You said, we don't ask robbery victims, why didn't you scream?
Right.
If someone's being mugged, we don't accuse them of lying if they didn't yell while they were being mugged. Yet sexual assault victims are forever being cross-examined, indeed criticized and attacked for not screaming. Shameful.
Steph, I handled rape cases and sexual assault cases as a prosecutor dating back to the 1980s in the Army. I realized that was not my forte. Those are enormously difficult cases to handle, 1,000 times more difficult for the victim than the prosecutor.
Yeah.
But, it always breaks my heart to see how people will go after sexual assault victims who 99% of the time have actually been assaulted.
Yeah.
And yet, again, in a public forum, they're called liars. They're called every name in the book. They're dragged through the mud. How is it that we cannot do better by victims of crime?
Thank you. By the way, I was mentioning this earlier, Glenn, but some things we were saying, you just think you're reading The Onion. You're like, this didn't really happen, did it? So in the, they released the deposition of, that Trump did testify, obviously, in the E. Jean Carroll case. He went on to tell Kaplan, that's E. Jean's lawyer, he couldn't have raped Carroll because she wasn't his type. And then he said to her, "You wouldn't be a choice of mine either, to be honest. I wouldn't under any circumstance have any interest in you." Did that actually happen? Did he actually say that to an attorney?
Yeah, and the other clip I heard was he was asked, have you ever been unfaithful to your wife? And he said, I don't recall.
Oh,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah. I mean, and seemed to double down on the Access Hollywood tape, right? He said, when, about the grab him by the pee, he said, historically, that's true with stars. If you look over the last million years, I guess that's been largely true. Not always, but largely true, unfortunately or fortunately. The attorney said, and you consider yourself to be a star? I think so, yeah. I mean, isn't that as close as you get to an admission?
And think about this. You know what was implicit in his statement? When you're a star, they let you do it. I walk up, I grab them by the pee, and you know what? Most of the time, they don't even scream.
Yeah. Yes. So, right, the judge said, if he has second thoughts, I'll at least consider it. Gave him till 5 p.m. Sunday, to file a motion to reopen the case for the sole purpose of testifying as a witness. And would put up or shut up. He's always just going to shut up when it's under oath, right? He's just, it's so predictable with him. Just this bluster and let me ask you one question quickly about the Proud Boys. The one conviction they did not get. Why is that? Dominic Pezzola, on the most serious charge, they were sent back to deliberate. So what was the difference there? Why the others got convicted of seditious conspiracy and he didn't?
I love this finding by the jury because it shows that they were very thoughtful, very attentive. This was what I would call a surgical verdict. Pezzola was not deep into the Proud Boys the way the other members were. He was kind of a Johnny-come-lately to January 6th, I guess a Dominic come-lately. And he did some horrible things because he's the one that we see on that endless loop using the stolen police shield to, bust out the windows so people could breach the Capitol. But he wasn't really part of the conspiracy earlier the way the other guys were. So this is so important, and this is down in the criminal justice weeds. But because the jury was so surgical, they really paid close attention to the sort of differing evidence against the different defendants. That makes the case all the stronger on appeal.
Yep.
That will actually help bolster the government's argument that these convictions should be affirmed.
Okay. All right. Before we go, just our corruption stack. Oh, holy crap. What do we do about the Supreme Court? Let's talk about This is just, again, almost...
I have an easy answer.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Here's the easy answer. At a minimum, Clarence Thomas and perhaps others violated federal statutes, the public financial disclosure laws. You know how we deal with somebody who violates a federal statute? We investigate them, and if the evidence supports it, we indict them. Congress, God bless them, Senator Whitehouse and Dick Durbin, they're trying to do what they can do, but they don't have a lot of power over the Supreme Court. But you know who does? The Department of Justice.
Yeah.
Please investigate the crimes at the Supreme Court. That's the only way we can get after it.
Yep. Thank you. All right, Glenn, you know what I'm told is that tickets are flying out the window for Sexy Liberal
They
LA,
are.
the only 2023 show with Glenn Kirschner. And God knows
Can't
what
wait.
other stars
Can't
to be
wait,
named.
Steph.
All right, can't wait to. Love you, honey.
Hey all, Glenn Kirschner here. Friends, I hope you'll join me on my audio podcast, Justice Matters. We talk about not only the legal issues of the day, but we also talk about the need to reform ethics in our government. Here's one example, the oath of office. You know the one. I do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Let's add 22 words to that oath. Quote, and I will promptly report any instances of crime and or corruption by government officials and employees of which I become aware. Friends, our democracy is worth fighting for. Join us in this fight, because justice matters. Look for Justice Matters wherever you ordinarily find your podcasts.